Welcome to the show, Joe.
Shante, it's good to be with you.
Hi, yes, it's good to be back. I haven't talked to you since last semester, and
That's right.
I'm really glad to have you back on the show. So
Good to
I
be here.
do have a couple questions for you in regards to running for senator. So I was looking at a press video that you released and showed one of your former constituents thanking you for helping her with her autism son. And I wanted to know, how did you provide funding for Kathleen Mick annually and her son? Michael, he would have been forced to drop out of his part-time adult autism program. So how did you actually fund for her and her son?
Shante, to answer the specific questions, there is a program that does provide within Pennsylvania funding to assist in the habilitative and other types of areas of a person who has autism as they grow into adulthood. However, the funding had been cut or reduced in some of the programs. And so my office, when we were approached by the wonderful woman who so cared for her son, we just merely did what government of, for, and by the people should do. We went and just talked to the agencies and advocated for her and saw that, funding can be provided and everything was taken care of. But to the larger point you raised, just before I came on the air, you had Autism Speak talking about the challenge of autism. I heard it on a commercial, I think it was, as I was waiting to come on. 1 out of every 68 children born in America this year will have autism. When I entered Congress in 2006, it was a 1 out of 125. It actually is an epidemic. I moved the very first money in 12 years into autism for federal efforts to try to better address this issue when I was there in 2007 and 8, those first couple of years. This is an issue we as a nation have to address, because if you intervene early, you often can actually have people become extraordinarily productive citizens of America, and that's what we have to do.
Yes. So I know that you actually helped Miss Kathleen. Now, were there any other similar incidents where you have helped families in need?
Absolutely. We kept our office open 7 days a week, Shante, up until 9 o'clock, because the day that I got to Congress in 2007, the recession had actually already started officially. There was a war going on here at home. We had 1,000 people who had home foreclosures and other types of problems come into our office. And so we had to salvage them. We actually saved about 2/3 of those homes from going into foreclosure. We had 18,000 constituents of mine and others out of the area who came into our office. We sat down with and helped to address their challenges. 5,000 seniors and veterans, for example. Now, that number of 18,000 in 4 years is 4 times the average congressional office. I had college interns, youth who care like you, who from Villanova, Swarthmore, where my office was, come in and help us and work under my staff so that we could keep the office open 7 days a week to help people. We did everything in any area for seniors, veterans, moms and pops, healthcare, education challenges, and helped people.
Okay, yeah. I was definitely inspired by reading her story. I actually watched the video, and I think that was so great that you were able to help her and her son because she was unable to do so. And that's one of the things I like about your campaign is that you are actually you're doing a lot for the working class family and the middle class family, and not many candidates actually do that. Like, you actually would like to put yourself in their shoes, and
Exactly.
and that's I think it's actually one of the best campaigns that I've seen. Like, I like a lot. I like to vote for people that are very relatable to me. That are relatable to the ordinary person. And yeah.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, and I feel that a lot of candidates they don't necessarily do that. they do a lot of talking, but I don't see much action going on. I do not see them actually interacting with the people on a daily basis. And throughout your whole campaign, you've been constantly, interacting with the local citizens, and I think that's good.
I learned that in the U.S. Navy. When the aircraft came home from Iraq or Afghanistan, for example, and I commanded the aircraft carrier battle group as a Navy admiral, I went down to the mess decks. It'd be 2 o'clock in the morning because 1/3 of the ship is always awake because it's like a city at sea with 5,000 people. And I'd sit there on the mess deck, calming down. The troops were home from striking, but I sat there with the sailors and just talked and listened. And that's how I did my congressional service. It's why I walked across this state, 422 miles, and you said it so very well. I wanted to show them I would walk in their shoes, understand their challenges. And as Senator, when I get to the U.S. Senate, I will continue to walk in the shoes and address the issues like those with autism by legislation, moving money into the research to finally, hopefully, find a cure for this deadly epidemic that's happening in our nation. And you said it also well about deeds, not words. I can remember attending a African American church, and I didn't win the race in my Senate race. So I went back to a lot of the churches to say thank you. I didn't want to think I'd just showing up and wouldn't come back to say thanks, even if I lost. And an African American minister said to me, "Joe, I hope you run again, but I'll know when you're good, when what you do speaks so loudly, I cannot hear what you say. It's the deed, not the word, that matters."
Yes, yes. Because you want to seem trustworthy to the voters. So by doing these actions and by doing these good deeds and also like putting yourself in their shoes, I think that you are gaining a lot of voters' trust, and that's great. And I know one of your like primary reasons for running for Senate was because of your daughter's brain cancer diagnosis at age 4, and that's why you are pushing for health care. What other reasons are you running for Senate?
Well, initially, that was the sole reason. I
Mm-hmm.
was in the Navy. My daughter was 4 years old. I had come back from the war, and the first brain operation at Walter Reed, they couldn't get the brain cancer out. And they said, she's only got about 3 to 9 months. I walked outside Walter Reed, looked up at the sky, and did what any father would have done. I said, "Lord, how about taking me instead?" But it doesn't work that way, Sean. So I went back in, and that little warrior, 4 years old, fought harder than I did. Only 8% of kids survived her brain cancer. She's 14 today.
Mm-hmm.
And I went ran for Congress for health care for everyone in 2006 to pay back my country for giving me my military health care plan that saved her. But now I care about issues also like education. It's our homeland defense, affordable education. Because right now we could cut the interest rates on student loans by about 2.5 percentage points. And it would lower the cost for students by $127 billion because the government is making that much profit because they're charging an interest rate that's a couple percentage points too high right now. I had a wonderful student who did some research on this and showed me how it had to be done when I was teaching after I didn't win. And so, therefore, there are practical ways to make college much more affordable. Not only that, we also have to have the artisans, those that do the manufacturing, the welders and the machinist mates, those who I used to have in the Navy in my first job. We need more of them to get to certificates in community colleges because manufacturing is about to come home. So jobs with wages increase and an educated, well-trained workforce. That's restoring the American dream where people can be all they want to be.
Yes. I think that healthcare is definitely important. Like a lot of Americans are not getting healthcare. And why do you think this country has an issue with providing Americans with healthcare?
I think it's because we have not had the leadership in the breadth of numbers of leaders who can be out there and explaining it. So, for example, when the Tea Party was in 2010 roaring against the health care plan, when former Congressman Toomey, who was running for Senate, just was ripping it apart, even though as a congressman, they were losing 165 people off the health care rolls every day in Pennsylvania. We needed more people to say, wait a moment here. We actually used to have leaders in 1789, that in Congress passed a piece of legislation in our first Congress that said all sailors were mandated to have health care, because if they got sick on a merchant fleet, our entire economy, taking raw materials from America to England to be turned into textiles and furniture and brought back, would have been ruined because people were sick. And today, we were losing $100 billion a year in productivity because people who are uninsured, when they get sick, they have to go to the emergency room, so they wait so long, and then they're so sick, they lose more work days, and so therefore we're all hurt. We need leaders who actually will explain, as we do in the military, we give health care so we have healthy, productive warriors. And it's not because of just charity. We want everyone to have it so that everyone can contribute to the common good.
Mm-hmm. Yes. I definitely think healthcare is important, and I hope that, if you do win, that more Americans, definitely in the PA area, will get healthcare. And, you were talking about Toomey. And why should people vote for you and not Toomey or McGinty and the other candidates?
I hope people will vote for me because I want them to understand I will continue my life of service. I joined up during the Vietnam War era. I gave 31 years to my wonderful country. I served it in war as well as in peace. But when my daughter got brain cancer, the country was there for me with a health care plan for my daughter. So I wanted to serve the country again. And I went there as a congressman and served those 18,000 people who walked in our door. And I didn't do it just during normal working hours because many of them were working then, and I had to help them later at night. And then I turned down the lobbying jobs, those outrageous multi-large figure jobs that 400 congressmen and senators, including Pat Toomey, took after he left Congress and said, that's not how I want to take advantage of my past service. And I went to teach with our national treasure, the youth of America, at 5 colleges and universities throughout Pennsylvania. And then I now want to serve again. I want to continue to walk in the shoes of Pennsylvanians. And it's not about me. It's not about my job. It's not about me being wealthy in money. It's because I think you can be wealthy in different ways than money. And in my case, it's by serving others. As someone once told me, you can't do better for yourself than by serving others above yourself.
Yes, I completely agree. And I would like to thank you again for coming on my show. And I think that you are sending a great message out there to, not only college students, but citizens in Pennsylvania. And I hope that your campaign will continue to be successful. And I'm looking forward to the voting results. And like I said, thank you. Yeah, thank you so much for coming on the show.
And Shantae, when you're a famous radio broadcaster, please still have me on.
Yes. I would definitely have you on again. And I forgot to say that I was actually interning at Word Radio, and I enjoyed the interview that you had with Solomon Jones on there 2 weeks ago. Yes. So
I was just I went over and was just walking through WURD the other day. So thank you. It's a great place.
Thank you so much, and I hope you have a great day.